Have you ever found yourself in a position where you just felt stuck in your pattern, stuck in your belief system, and you wanted your life to be different? You have a desire for what you want, but you can't seem to get out of your own way to create that reality. If you said yes, then buckle up because Laura and I are going to take you on a ride to help you uncover some tools, some techniques, maybe a different perspective and different way of looking at your situation so that you can create the life that you desire. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, my friend. This is exciting. We're finally here.
I'm so excited to have you here on Masks Off for people pleasers and perfectionists. You have such a unique and extensive background. I would love for you to share with the listeners who you are and what you do.
Thank you for that opportunity. It's quite ironic when this moment comes. I usually am like, let's just skip over all that and get to the heart of why we're here, because I always find that the listeners are excited for that knowledge and information, but it is also important that they know who they're listening to. So, I am the global top selling author of The Science of Empowerment. Yes, I study quantum. I love the quantum field of all that is possible. But this is really about a formula and a way of thinking that helps us move out of the comfort zone. And as you and I have been discussing, into the zone of potential. Taking the masks off. For those of us that have been lifelong perfectionists, it is so important to know that there is a formula, a system, a book, a podcast, a coach, something out there that can help guide us and support us navigating what this looks like to really take that mask off and create a life that we intend to live, not just dream about, but really intend to live. So, very cool story. My brother's a former USA Olympic coach in the gymnastics environment. He was working mindset material a long time ago, and he and I have always been talking about writing a book, creating a coaching business, etc. And I just decided one day to go for it. So 5 years later, the book was written, and just very organically, the coaching business came, and then the speaking engagements. I'm well past 100 interviews around the globe. I love co-collaborating these conversations with podcast hosts. I just think it's a beautiful opportunity for the listening audience to gain a different perspective and really expand their mindset and almost like their internal energy force on where they are and where they can go. So I speak all over the globe on virtual stages, one-to-one coaching. I've got lots of group and teamwork coaching and mindset development and teamwork and leadership development. But I really love the podcast journey. I think it's an intimate way to create impact for a larger audience. So the book is there, the coaching is there, the website, even if you don't buy the book, even if we don't coach, please visit the website. There's a copious amount of information and knowledge. There's a media page where this will also be presented on, but there's just so much beautiful information. There's blogs on there that will really help elevate and stimulate growth and advancement for them. So hopefully that gives a little bit of a glance into what I do.
It absolutely does. And I love you're using the word growth. One of my core values is growth or personal growth, and the other is connection. Through the podcast, I get to do both. I get to connect with people like you, and I get to grow as well. When I started doing the podcast 4.5 years ago, it was originally with a friend. We just did it as a hobby during COVID, and we just wanted to have these conversations. But I now say, after doing this for 4.5 years, over 250 episodes, I do it because I grow. I learn and grow from all of my guests. So I love it. But we're going to talk about something that is really key to the perfectionist
Mm.
and the people pleaser. And that is a paralyzing fear of stepping outside of one's comfort zone. And mind you, our brains are also wired for comfort, right? Back in the cave days, we had to stay with what was familiar and known, because if we ventured out alone, there's a good chance we might have picked a berry that killed us, or a bear around the corner, or another hunter. So we had to stay in what was familiar. So it's our wiring, it's in there. But now we live in a time where we don't have to worry about the bear, the tiger, or somebody killing us. However, many of us still go through life as if that were the case. We have that fear that keeps us stuck in our patterns. And that's what I write about in my book, Free to Be, is that we end up, many of us, living a pattern and not a life. So I wondered if you could speak to this, because I know that this is right up your alley as well.
Yeah, I've got so many thoughts that are just ping-balling in my brain on this. So, first, I guess gaining a new skill is to allow yourself to think in present moment. So we are not back in those days anymore. The brain can be rewired. You are in the power seat of choice of how you think about your thought processes. If there is a fear, which, by the way, at our neural training facility, which is all around the science of empowerment, that word is not even like, for us, our acronym is always forever empowered and resourceful. And always remember that you are an empowered being and you have resources coded within the DNA. They're tucked away in that brilliant mind of yours, but they are there. You can read information, gain knowledge. You can listen to a podcast and all the different modalities and skills and tools to help you understand that fear is associated with a limited structure of energy. It isn't real. It feels real because we've convinced ourselves, but it's just a framework of how we associate a thought with an experience, a thought within the history of mankind. We were wired back then for exactly what you said. When I walk out my front door, that's still in me somewhere. That thought keeps you anchored into that pattern. That pattern then triggers beliefs. It distorts what we would prefer to value. It stops us from taking the mask off, releasing all of the fear, showcasing the imperfections, whatever it may be. You have the ability to think differently every moment of every day. Choose to think as if that part of your brain is open and ready to be activated to think and feel differently. And then move from that position. Even when you feel a bit scared, just remember there's just a residue hanging around. It isn't what can be, it's what you've convinced yourself has to be. Two different frameworks of thinking. Allow yourself, have fun, get curious, gain some clarity that you have the ability to change the neuronal pathways, the actual pathways in the brain. You can change them to reorganize into a new way of thinking and thus becoming a new you.
Okay, I love that. So I'm going to poke a little bit. I
Yeah,
hope you
of
don't mind.
course.
I recently have been listening to podcasts and really loving David Bear. Do you love him? Do you know? Yes. Okay. So you love him. He talks all the time about desire plus non-resistance equals desired result or outcome. We have a desire. I want to be a successful podcaster. I want to be a successful author, or I want to be a boxing champ. Plus non-resistance equals desired result. I get caught up, or sometimes really struggle to fully understand and recognize the non-resistance. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because this is exactly what I was saying, that non-resistance. Look at it as a structure or a framework. However, your brain can take in non-resistance. That is a release, a letting go, an amputation, cutting something off. It is shutting something out. It is recalibrating. It is allowing yourself to not be limited by the resistance itself. If I intend to lose 10 pounds in the next 2 months, but in the back of my mind, that inner voice keeps telling me it's too hard. You're going to have to give up everything you love. You hate going to the gym. I've never been able to lose the weight. That is all resistance. If you took all of your limited thoughts and recalibrated them over in a separate column and just put down the opposition of it. I've never been able to lose weight. Losing weight is very easy for me now. I have never been into the gym. I welcome the gym. It's got energy, music, weights, and machines. I get to move my body, feel what it is to get healthy, get in shape. There are ways to shift the thought process. This is why I specialize in thought energy. We have become very attached to how we think, and then thinking that is how it must be. That is not the truth. Any resistance is a personal challenge that you yourself and your higher self is now challenging you. Rise to that occasion, blow through that resistance, climb above it, dig underneath it, go through it. Whatever that resistance is, that is you getting prepared to move to that next level of growth, of personal evolution or collective elevation, however you want to word it. Move with it with faith, with value, with principle, with integrity, with discipline, with intention, with desire. You're going to come out with a desired outcome. Because every time the resistance shows up, you're going to say, I see you. I recognize you. I'm observing you. But wait one moment. I have a skill. I have a new tool. I have a book. I have a coach. I have something I can listen to that will support me in recalibrating the old thought process. And I'll start to gain confidence in this new way of thinking, i.e., becoming.
Okay, here's the part where I want to poke. Let's say my desire is to grow my audience, whether it's through social media, and this is true, my social media audience and my podcast audience. My desire is to grow it. So that's the desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. If I'm in resistance or when I have been in resistance, it looked like this. I go and I check. Oh, I lost 15 subscribers on YouTube. Oh my goodness, I've only gained 4 followers on Instagram and then I lost 3. And I keep hyper focusing on the numbers. And then I say to myself, so this is where I'm with you. Then I say to myself, oh, see, I can't grow. It's not going to grow because it's not growing. So that's what the resistance looks like, which is not giving me the desired result. Non-resistance, what you're saying would be something along the lines of followers are coming to me. I'm connecting with the universe. I'm connecting with people. The growth is coming, or the growth is what, let's just say that the growth is coming, or unless you have a better way of saying it.
Or it doesn't matter right now about the followers, because you said at the beginning of this, one of the things that you value most is
connection. Yes.
And when you are running your podcast interviews or collaborative conversations, you're doing what you value.
Okay.
And trusting in the unfolding that all will come. All of us that are in this environment, we think about, oh, what wouldn't it be? And then we fill that blank in to have Put a number on the followers, put a number on the book sales, put a number on the coaching clients. Oh, I'm running a $30 million, whatever. All of that's important. But what happens is when we keep the pattern in play, which you do, I want 100 new followers in the next 6 months, but every day I check. And if I don't see it, I reiterate the pattern. I suck. I get one, I get two, I lose three. See, no, you don't even check it. Do what you love and only put the energy into what you love, and maybe soften the amount of time that you keep the pattern in play. So maybe you look every day, you look once a week. Every Sunday, I wake up, I do my personal care, and then I'm going to check and see what happened for the week. Regardless of what it is, gosh, I am so grateful that I had a phenomenal guest on and we had such a great conversation, because we both know at least one person out in the world, something is going to transform for them. Beautiful. You start, this is what's a bit challenging for all of us. We aren't schooled in the environment of quantum fields and energetic structures, right? That kind of seems maybe a little bit outside of our natural acceptance, right? How we speak to ourselves and how we connect to either the God force or the universal energy, whatever feels right for you. The blocks, the resistance, the limiting beliefs, they are in place, built into the human condition for one purpose and one purpose only: to help you grow, to support your evolution. When you look at that rather than blocks and patterns, but actual stepping stones and open doorways, you start to shift everything. And all of that no longer matters. And the true value of why you are doing what you're doing, that's what holds you steady. Now, I also understand there's many listeners, they want to create a business. And we all need to make money. We live in a money matrix. We're in a capitalistic flow of experiences. So, yes, we have to take into consideration all of those factors. But we're having a conversation on mindset, elevation, how to recalibrate negative thoughts, how to shift the internal algorithms so that we are no longer blocked, but we are open to expansion.
Okay, I love that. And then it's everything that I'm going through currently. What I want to say, especially when you mentioned the part about people who are wanting to build a business or people who are working jobs and have to support a family. One of the things that I'm coming up against for myself personally in my work is that I feel driven a lot of times by shoulds and have tos. Those shoulds and have tos is a form of the resistance. And yet it's like we are conditioned from day one for how many like decades that the way we go through this life is hustle, grind, push, responsibility. You have to do this, you have to do that. Sometimes I don't even know what I want to be saying to my two kids who are in their early 20s. I know what you're speaking, and I know there's another way to flow. But at the same time, I don't know how to share that with them in the sense of, Mom, I have to make money. I have to have my job. I have to finish college and get my degree. I have responsibilities. What are you saying? Just throw them to the wind and I don't do anything. I just let go of all my have tos and all my responsibilities. So I wonder if you can speak to that.
The universe appreciates speed. In order to bring intention and desire into manifestation, one must take action. Nobody ever sits back and just magically creates. Everything has to take a thought, and that thought has to be observed. And then through that observation, it has to be acknowledged. And then there's steps in play in order to bring it in to the experience. We all know the difference between a dream and a goal. And what is that bridge between that dream and the goal? And it isn't the shoulds or the have tos. Soften those words. You don't look at things as difficult. recalibrate that word as challenging. The brain already wires that I can do this. I may have to take some steps. I may have to think a little bit differently. I may have to work 2 jobs to build that new business. So even with my girls, the same thing. Educate yourself if that feels correct, right? Some of us are entrepreneurial in spirit. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to get a specific degree. Find what makes you happy. And if you're still floating and you have no idea, then pick something that piques your interest, work towards it, but don't let go of the dream. Always stay connected to it. Whether you volunteer, do it on the weekends, once a week. I worked 3 businesses and wrote my book. My family will tell you sometimes I didn't sleep. I would work out, take care of my family, my kids, and I would sit for hours till 4 or 5 in the morning and write because I held on to that value of wanting to empower millions of people. There was no resistance. Who am I to think I could write a book? I could speak on thought energy. I was like, who am I not? Who am I not to do it? I am everything. We are all a part, however you want to look at it. We have the same elements as what makes up our universe in us. We're part of something, however we look at it, however we understand it. Suspend the doubt and go for it anyways. Even if you're thinking that resistance, even if you are grabbing onto that limited thought, great. Tuck it under your arm and carry on. We're all going to feel it because it's breeded into our DNA. But what isn't activated yet until the people listening to this is exactly in our DNA is the code to live a life of empowerment. Absolutely. And everything that we resist and everything that we think is a block is simply a contrast to awaken the mind body consciousness connection and move us forward. That's all it is.
Yeah, and David speaks to that a lot. David Bear says that we have to know what we don't want or what we don't like in order to know what we do want and to create that desire.
Yeah.
See what your thoughts are in terms of how does one know if they're listening? And let's say they're caught up in that matrix of working the job, living the life like they're on the hamster wheel, right? Going to this 9 to 5 job and grinding, pushing, hustling. And how do they know whether they're just in resistance to what they're doing or they're not following their dreams? They don't even know what their dreams or desires are. What if someone's listening and says, I don't even know what I desire? So, how am I supposed to tap into that energy and that potential?
Yeah, I do believe they know. It's just
Mm.
whether they are ready to know. And if you are fundamentally unhappy, then you are not in alignment, period. No one is saying if you've had a very challenging life and you are in the grind, that you are just supposed to listen or read a book or have a coaching session, enjoy this podcast and wake up tomorrow and it's all set. No, it is an ever evolving exploration and discovery into living into your potential. And it won't ever stop. My grandparents, when they passed, my uncle, when he was 94, I remember having conversations with the elders in my family. They weren't done. And yes, there's some coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Of course, that's built into our mindset. But that's what I would say to those people. Take a moment somewhere in the next 5 days, regardless of your schedule. Take a moment, put pen to paper, or if that's too old school, however you take your personal dictation, quiet the mind for a moment. This is the compassionate pause that we speak about in the Courageous Leadership Program where I coach as well. Just take a moment. There's no judgment. There's no resistance. There's no limitation. Ask yourself, if there were no blocks, what would I do? And just let the pen write. It doesn't matter. I'd be a race car driver. I'd be a firefighter. Whatever it is, just let it come out. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Allow the dialogue of that part of yourself that has been hidden for many realistic reasons in your life. Allow it to have a voice. And then don't even look back, just write, close your book or put your paper over. Next day, just go to the next line, ask yourself again. If there were no resistance, no blocks, no limited thinking, what would I do? Within a short amount of time, there will be something that is peeking through that list. When you look at that list, something will call to you. It may seem way out, an impossibility, but that's where great coaching comes in, because we start to look again. That's another resistance, another block, another limited thinking. This is why the J3 equals E formula in the science of empowerment is so life-changing. It is 5 simple principles, and we keep moving that formula through. And you get to a point where you realize, I'm the resistance, not the thing I've been holding in that position. It's me. And
Yeah.
then you change, everything changes. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it changes overnight. It will be an ebb and flow, a back and forth. It will have its own rhythm, but you will begin to recalibrate your life, position yourself into that power seat of choice, and begin to create an empowered life.
I feel like we could mic drop right there because that was so awesome the way you just described that. But to bring it home a little bit more for the listeners with a concrete example, I will share that when I first started doing the podcast and was getting ready to write the book and doing all of this purpose work, personal growth and connection are my 2 core values. Mm-hmm. And I would absolutely get on and create a podcast because I lit up. I just enjoyed connecting with people and talking about anything that had to do with personal growth. I was a teacher before I had my son. It's an innate spiritual gift for me to teach. I was teaching at the age of 7 and 8. When I was 13, I gave the speech at graduation night. I know those are spiritual gifts. When I get on a podcast, I light up. My energy, my vibration goes up. But what gets in the way or has gotten in the way is the resistance. This is what I've been wanting to point out. The ego can be such a trickster. The patterns can be so insidious because I was like, of course, this is the work I'm supposed to be doing. I can feel it. I know this is my purpose work to talk about removing masks. I wrote my book on it. I know it. There's this other energy of what we talked about. How many books have I sold? What's my growth? What's the audience growth? What's the validation going on? Am I getting the validation? And this is all stuff that a people pleaser and a perfectionist wants and needs is external validation, outcomes. Those nuances of the pattern were not even available to me at the level that it's available to me right now, which is why sometimes I have a little bit of a problem with the formula of desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. Just change your thoughts, just change your mindset, and you will be in non-resistance. I could not have accessed this particular layer of this pattern a month ago because it was not available. So that's why I think there's a caveat for anyone who's listening and saying, oh my God, Kim, Laura, I have tried everything to do all the things to be in non-resistance. I've done this, I've done that. And then is there just sometimes there's these nuances. And at the same time I say all that, I also feel and know what you've been saying is that there's just what's happening to me right now is happening for a reason, furthering my growth. And I just need to be with this part so that I can be in more non-resistance. But I wondered if you could just speak to that nuance a little bit of how things can be hidden to us.
Yeah, understand that the human condition has very specifics engineered into the design of the experience. It's okay to have the nuances. It's okay to have the contrast. It's okay. I am part of a global group. We had a meeting yesterday. There's, I think, like 1,200 women in this group. I promise you, almost every single one of us has some threading of familiarity when we speak. Doesn't matter if someone's just starting out or someone's worth $1 million. It's all the same because we are human beings doing the human thing. So, timing, yeah, I think there's something to it. If you don't believe in synchronicity, if you don't believe in God force, universal energy, spiritualism, religion, if you don't believe in and fill in that blank, you're going to have resistance already built in. There's always going to be contrast. There has to be. If the contrast were to dissolve, you would no longer need to be here. You would not need to push through the challenges in order to evolve because you wouldn't need to anymore. We need the contrast. What happens is the ego steps in and gets very impatient. I call it the monster, and it sits in its own cage, and we feed it beautifully without even realizing it, right? It wants something, we give it because we feel that's what we're supposed to do. And the ego has a strength to it. It's got a resilience to it because it does not want to be diminished. But that's one of the beautiful aspects of personal development. When you realize that the ego is an important part of our journey, but it no longer has directive over our. So when the pattern is clicking in and the thought process is running in the mind, and then the behavior kicks in, and then we start engaging in the pattern, and then we convince ourselves this is the personality, this is who I am, and then we just live out this habit. Now we get to start fueling the mind with new information. We start to apply books, talks, movies, art, journaling, meditation, formulas, coaching. We start gaining momentum on our own advancement. And as you said, you're not the same as you were a month ago. And in 3 months, and it's 6 months, and a year. Now, does that match what we're desiring? I want my business to blow up this way. I want to lose this weight. I want to look this way. I want to find the love of my life. I want to build that house, whatever it may be. We all understand this. When we begin to just relax and understand that we have a time here and there's some things that are activated, and then there are some things that are awaiting activation. What is already activated has been, for the most part, out of our control. It's really based on childhood, young adulthood, and patterns. Now, when we start coming into new sciences, new knowledge, and new perspectives, we start igniting curiosity around, maybe it can be a bit different. Maybe I can start to think for myself, become a self-actualized thinking human, not be at the influence of all this outside noise and distortion. Maybe I can create everything I desire. Maybe I can let go of the obstacles, the resistance, the limited thinking. And maybe, just maybe, I can become someone different tomorrow than I am today. And this allows for personal expansion without judgment and without resistance. We try a little bit every day. We move a little bit forward. Yeah, maybe we go a little bit back. But that momentum forward gets stronger with each opportunity to position yourself into that power seat of choice. I choose awareness around this particular resistance. I am willing to recalibrate that resistance. I am accountable to that mindset connected to that first awareness around that resistance. I am going to soften the emotionality and start thinking with a critical mind, critical thinking, fourth principle within the J3 equals E. Now I'm going to recognize my humanness, but I'm going to start thinking like high powered intellect because I can, because it's in me. Now, energy, fifth principle, negative, positive, neutral. Which am I? If I stay connected in resistance, it's negative. Doesn't mean negative is bad. It's just a negative on the scale. How can I neutralize it? By becoming aware. What am I willing to do? What's my accountability in it? Critical thinking. Now I've neutralized the resistance, the obstacle, the pattern. Now my trajectory into a positive mindset is closer because now neutral becomes my resting state of being. Neutrality is a superpower. I taught all my clients, this is what I really drive home with them. And when they get it, everything changes because we no longer stay attached into that state, right? We don't keep re-signing the contract to stagnation, the pattern, all of it. We now understand we can neutralize the behavior, the resistance, the obstacle, the challenge. We are powerful humans. Now I can move into the power seat and create a life of positive thinking, positive outcome, positive interaction, because I intend and desire that outcome. And that's what I choose to experience.
Ah, my goodness. I could just listen to you for another 2 hours. Honestly, I feel like you should create some type of recording or something, a meditation, and just allow people to pop you in their headphones whenever they're in a bad space or not, and just
Yeah.
listen to Laura.
I am starting to create my YouTube channel soon. It's called Elevate in 20. It's going to be a quick 20-minute, a little bit less with the intro and outro. It will be free for everyone to have a moment for themselves. And every week it'll be on every type of subject and every style of our humanness. A place to go to just put on your ear pods and check in with that part of you, because what resonated with you is not what I said, it's what you recognized about yourself.
Mm,
And that's
100%.
the power of why we do what we do.
Where can listeners find you?
You can go to www.thescienceofempowerment.com. You can go to the Science of Empowerment YouTube channel. The Science of Empowerment is available on Amazon. Reach out to me. There's an area on my website that you can email me and just say, hi, I heard you on Masks Off. I loved what you guys were talking about. I'm interested in the book or coaching. Something really cool I've done is I've had groups of mostly women. I've had 2 experiences with 2 different groups of men. They've bought the book, read it, and then I've done an author's Q&A with them, and it's been the most intimate, empowering experience. So that's something really unique for maybe communities or people that have small teams at work for development and personal advancement. Just an idea that may settle in and help them move through the resistance. I'm everywhere and I answer everything. My team that comes to me, and I personally answer every email.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much,
You.
Laura, for being here. Like a powerful conversation.
Thank you. I enjoyed
So
it. An honor.
thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. If you liked this conversation as much as I did, please go out and review or subscribe. It just helps to get this content out to people who need to hear it, people who need to hear what Laura just offered. So please do us a favor and go and review or subscribe. And I will see you next time on Masks Off.